Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, Bruce.
Wow, how long has it been since we had our Friday call?
I think it's 6 weeks, and 3 weeks ago we tried one and it failed because of my mistake. The audio wasn't good. And then
Yeah,
3 more weeks passed, and now we're there again.
right. And so the last time 3 weeks ago we were talking about the progress that we've been making with the latest revision,
Yeah.
and now we've made some more progress. Not a great deal because I started a new job, but we're down I started with the Minerva chapter yesterday, or this week, and I sent it to you yesterday.
Yeah, earlier you did the other chapters that were before this.
Right, which we
That's
didn't.
already some weeks ago, and a lot of things have improved on the wiki as well.
Yeah, tell me about that first.
Yeah, when you go to the manuscript pages, it now has a full color image, which is also high resolution.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult to read before.
Yeah, I had black and white and smaller size because I thought it would take too many bytes. But Pax, our Danish volunteer, has taken care of this. He also added new line numbers because in the book it was not printed on the pages themselves. Also, there's this Fryas script, standskrift. You can also go back to the normal capitals that we had earlier.
Yeah.
But very nice, I think, is that you can read it in the Oera Linda script itself.
Yeah, but the ability to toggle back and forth between them has been very helpful for me because I was used to the original, all cap script.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to tell the difference between the different A's and things, so you can just toggle it to the other one and figure it out and then go back to the standskrift. And you also made it possible so before you could click to the next page, but now I think it's possible to click to the previous page as well.
Yeah, of course this is the first page, so you can only go next. But here you can go previous and next. You can also page back. And similar with the translations. Continue reading, previous chapter, next chapter. And in the alternative order, you see that the next chapter is actually chapter 7a, but it's more chronological. So
that's the chronological order is the
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that makes it a lot easier because it was definitely, I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful site, but it had me pulling my hair out sometimes when I had to go back to the previous page.
Yeah, and also it's now next to each other on a desktop.
Oh,
at least. Yeah. When you make it smaller, it will go like this under it. But normally it's next to each other, which is easier. And something else is that Pax is doing a full revision of the transcription, which was a transliteration. Now it's a transcription because we have the same script. And I made that over 10 years ago. And there were still, I was a bit shocked by how many little mistakes I had made. They're not spectacular, but still I'm very happy that Pax is taking so many mistakes out. And there's also a new section, transcriber corrections. Because in the course of the years I sometimes corrected things, and initially I had made them italic, all my changes.
Yeah.
But then at some point I lost that
document
layout. And now it's only, and then it was for the book, it was only the way I had corrected it. So in the introduction I had explained I've done it as rigorously as possible. But now people can actually see what changes we made, and we have also started to make things more consistent. So if we really know that 100 is usually written with a U like this, then we change 100 into 100, but we leave it here so you can see it does say something about how it may have sounded.
Right, definitely does, yeah. That's what I was noticing the other day when I was, even in one of the recent sections I was looking at, you'd find a word, and in the same line, or a few lines later, it would be written slightly differently.
Yeah, yeah.
The E instead of instead of a certain A, and then you realize that you can kind of piece together the probable pronunciation that way.
Yeah, I had on actually today. I did a few word studies. Here it was in the text Useful Precedents, chapter 4c. It's written BIDROG with a D, and then 10 lines later it's BIDROGA with a T.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Only twice BIDROGA is with a T. And in the chapter of purity of language, which is a very trustworthy text, I think, as it comes to spelling and language.
Right.
It's all used 4 times and always with a D.
Okay. So, and bedrog means...
Betrug in Deutsch, in German, deceit.
Mm.
Yeah, the verb bedroga is to deceive. Bedrocht is a third person singular present.
Right. I think the first time that you run into that word is where they're talking about the rules for the laws for the seafarers, right? If someone among them commits fraud.
The useful precedents. Of,
useful precedents. Okay, yeah, right after that chapter.
Yeah.
Right around there, though. So in the laws section is where you find it the first time, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to be going through that section actually today, right?
Yeah. So one little detail I also want to say is that the dot, because it's also used for period and comma, when it's used for as a hyphen, it will appear on the beginning of the next line. So there's no misunderstanding that it is if it's a period or a comma or a hyphen. When it's a hyphen, it's always on the next. That is to say, here it's also used as a hyphen, but then it's between 2 letters, always. At the end of a line, it will never be a hyphen, because then it will appear on the next line.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but so as a hyphen, you mean basically it's all one word, really, right? So papekoppe.
Yes, and the copyist doesn't use it consistently.
Mm.
So sometimes it's really better to add a hyphen. Bijvoorbeeld standaard. If you write this as one word, it may not be easy to, for people who are just learning this language, to understand what kind of word it is. But stand,
even in the word veralda, right? Sometimes it happens. And then a dot alda.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point about this language that you've kind of brought up that I didn't expect to talk about, but it dawned on me as I was going through the most recent section that different to, for example, ancient Chinese or even Latin, this is not a written language. It's a spoken language.
Yes.
And it happens to be written down here in a kind of an approximate way. But I think if you read it, you know that the stories were shared at the hearth, were shared around the yard. It's an oral tradition culture, and the writing here is not the definitive. The definitive source, and if you understand what I mean, it's
yes. It's a very interesting topic actually. This is a spoken language written down.
Yeah, it's a spoken language. Yeah, even modern modern Frisian is kind of. It's not really. It's just trying to put in letters what people say.
Yeah. Then there's even the phonetic aspect of it. They have started with the new Frisian written language. They've actually corrupted many words so that they're no longer recognizable.
Through the writing.
Because they wanted to write it down so that people know how they have to pronounce it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And so it's possible that, well, this language you can relatively well say it exactly as it's written.
Yeah.
But from the variety of spelling, we can derive that some pronunciation changed a bit, or when they spoke fast. And they even give examples of how some words are sort of bastardized and what the original version was.
Right. There's that whole purity of language section. Yeah. But even that is not really meant to be written down in a sense.
It was spoken at a Yule first. Yeah.
And you'll find that for people who don't live in Europe, you'll find that in all European languages that there's a lot of regional differentiation.
Yeah, and with, for example, Welsh or Celtic languages, I think.
Yeah.
It's extreme. Like the pronunciation is very different from the letters that you see, that you read.
Right. They just don't have the systematization through Latin and stuff that that other modern languages do.
Yeah, and with Latin, to finish this part, with Latin it was really meant to put information on paper or on something else in as little words, letters as possible.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, of course, sometimes people also would read it or try to read it or speak Latin. And I think that modern German is the way the grammar is made. It is sort of based on Latin and Greek.
It's so interesting that you say that, Jan, because I was cooking dinner and I was thinking the same thing. When I came to Germany, I learned German very quickly, and I've always said from the very first days that it felt like English that had just kind of popped out of the earth, so I was able to relate to it very quickly. And Fryas is even closer. It feels like it's coming straight out of my heart, kind of.
Yeah.
But then I realized that probably with all the gender stuff in German and French and stuff has genders, that's something that was probably added into the language later through Latin.
Yeah.
I have no proof of that, but it seems obvious to me when you look at this as the original.
For me as a Dutchman, German is a bit artificial.
Yeah.
And also my wife, who's German, says now that she has learned Dutch, she thinks it's an easier language. It makes more sense.
Yeah, it doesn't have all the unnecessary genderization. It's funny how gender was a topic maybe even thousands of years ago. No. Should we go on to the stuff that we've done and some of the questions that we wanted to address between us?
Yeah. Most of the suggestions I immediately took over, and there were a few things that you had marked yellow or red that you would like to discuss, but it wasn't really clear what your question was. And there were a few things that I have comments about. So
I was going to say that the way that we do this basically is that I go through and do my editorial work and send it over to you, and then you make your judgment about my suggestions, and then there's always stuff that we need to discuss and figure out with your scientific methods and my more intuitive methods, and somehow we arrive at the answer that seems best.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got a list of things that you wanted to just touch on.
Yeah. The second point, the steersmen may nominate their own captains. I will also open the where is it? Yeah, so we have the original at hand.
Yeah, the steersman, we originally had nominate. Noma is the word in Fryas. And they may name their own captains, and there's no vote on that. So the steersman can just decide on who their captains are So I thought appoint was more direct.
I think appoint is good here. But then in the second, in the line 3...
I changed binoma, yeah.
Yeah, and binoma in Dutch is benoemen, which means to appoint.
To appoint, yeah.
And also in the context, chosen, the word is keren, which actually also means elected.
Right.
So if they're already elected...
Then you appoint them, yeah. Yeah, that one I'll agree with you on. To tell you the truth, that was more of like, I took out the word nominated in the first sentence and I wanted to give it to you in the second sentence.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think like that. It's like, oh, I don't want to go too far. So I wanted to put nominate in somewhere. And the word, binoma has the word nom in it, I think it makes sense to have them both be appointed.
Yeah, if it's not too much repetition.
Yeah. No, I don't think. They're laws. Laws can repeat themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that one was easy then. And next is...
in 4 you said the king may lodge a complaint with the alderman.
Yeah.
Or the king may complaint with the alderman.
So what we had there originally was make his complaint to the alderman.
Yeah.
And so this is just a matter of idiomatic language, right? You lodge a complaint. There's no in the Fryas, the verb is simply that's one of the things that the Germanic languages and certainly Fryas doesn't have like helping verbs as much as in English. So beklagia just means to make a complaint, right? It's all in the one word.
No, my question was because in the notes you had or simply complaint, but then it wasn't clear if I should also use with. The king may complain with the alderman. No. It definitely has to lodge. You know why? I think I forgot to. Delete that comment because originally I had said to lodge a grievance. I had put there. Okay.
I just tried out a grievance as kind of a technical term, but then I guess I went back and decided on complaint and forgot to. I was, I'm doing at the moment. I'm doing these things at work in between trying to learn my new job. I'm editing the Oera Linda, and so there may be a little bit of kind of stuff that I just forgot.
No problem, but then that's settled as well.
That one's also taken care of.
Then number 8.
Yeah, this one definitely I didn't understand why the word "see" is in there.
No, I haven't looked it up in the earlier communication with my proofreaders, but I also didn't understand. So now it's just they were killed in battle. Right.
So we're talking about this
because
thing
the
where it says if there's any. So if someone died on the journey, they're talking about what happens with their share of the loot, and it says if someone was killed in a battle, then the sons may bear the names of the fathers on the shields. And originally we had in a sea battle, which I guess makes sense if you're talking about people out on a ship, but there could have been all kinds of battles.
It doesn't say so. So, an ene case, a case.
A case, basically,
in the dictionary of Old Dutch languages, it says it can be a vechtpartij or a gevecht. So.
Yeah, and so that's the great thing about this edit that we're doing. We're really going through word for word. We've done that before, but we were up against deadlines the first time we did it, and then revision is a process. You have to you revise and you revise again and you revise again, especially in translation. So this is really going through with a fine-tooth comb at this point and getting the last little bits of whoops out of there.
Yeah, and we may also do a quick. It's not really organized this yet, but an announcement about a new edition, because earlier I said it would be in the beginning of summer, later I said it will be more end of summer, but as it is now, I cannot guarantee when the new edition will be printed. It will not be this summer, because we are having these edits, and there's the edits in the transcription.
Yeah.
And the demand was not that great anymore recently. When there's an interview, it can suddenly be very high again. There was a big, important Dutch interview planned, but it has been postponed.
Okay.
So that would have been next week. But it will very likely happen still, but not sure when.
Yeah, well, we had a head of steam going, and we'll get the momentum back. But with me starting a new job and you having had work on your house and stuff, it's just, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So that's for the people who are waiting for the new edition. You may try to get one second hand. There are a few thousand out there, so there may be people who want to sell it again, or one of the copies they have.
Yeah.
That's what you can try. And there's, of course, the PDF on the website still. And this one online, which is the most up-to-date version.
Right. We're updating the wiki as we go, right? So everyone can really follow along after each Friday call, kind of, and read the changes and see exactly what we're talking about.
So let's proceed with the 4c.
Yeah, that one is one of the rare cases where I wondered if Sandbach maybe was not onto something. So the word question is MÄRK.BÉTEN. And so for me, so MERK is market, right? And beten, as far as I can tell, would mean like bitten. So I'm guessing that at least that's the way Sandbach must have interpreted it. Beta could also mean asked to, right? Yeah. So escorted from the market. It could be escorted from the market, but Sandbach had find, right? So bitten by the market.
MÄRK.BÉTEN. Okay. Well, usually I would have looked it up, and I can quickly see. This is page 29, huh? Or no, 30.
30, yeah.
And then the fourth point, MÄRK.BÉTEN, yeah, here.
I would think if it meant, I mean, I understand the thinking that beta means to kind of ask to leave, but I would think they would have said something like VAMPÍRA or something, away.
In New Frisian, MÄRK.BÉTEN, and this is actually sometimes I use Jensma's book because he made notes of what dictionaries the assumed creators might have used. And he says MÄRK.BÉTEN in New Frisian is the brand marking of cattle. So they are
right. So that
tattooed, like almost.
Interesting. Mark instead of medic. Mark, right? So that would make me almost think that both Sandbach and we have maybe got it not exactly right. So it says there'll be MÄRK.BÉTEN, and then that the maidens will what does it say?
Denounce. They will be denounced by the maidens throughout the whole land. And that's also interesting. The word fame, from fama, infamous, or famous, is related to the word for maiden, fam.
Huh. So it's possible then, based on what you just said, that it meant that maybe somebody who commits usury at the market would literally be branded.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There is this other law about usury, but I forgot what the penalty was for that. I can easily find it.
Yeah, this is the one. I guess this is where if someone cheats, right? If somebody tries to cheat people, it's not about usury.
Yeah. If any would come, should do so. The maidens are obliged to make them known. Again, it's the same throughout the whole land, so that they will never be chosen for any office. For such people have vulture-like hearts. So this is the only punishment: is that they are made known throughout the whole land.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but if you're cheating people, then you're MÄRK.BÉTEN.
Yeah.
And you said that means to brand something. So that's interesting. I think we need to look into that.
A possibility, at least, based on modern Frisian.
Yeah.
But it would make sense. Yeah.
To brand somebody, so that if somebody's a cheat, right, you brand them. It seems quite drastic, but
okay, let's have a look. Another look at that word.
I just noticed the huge discrepancy between what we and Sandbach had done. I don't usually look at his stuff, but I just happened to, and because that word struck me as, containing more than we had there, ejecting from the market.
So in line 19 there was another one. You had experienced men, ALDULKERA, and I have made a word study of that today.
Okay.
Oh, let's go through the other way for word studies. Here, ALDULKERA.
So it was talking about what men to choose for trade missions.
Okay, and in the translation it was experienced men your suggestion, or was it the original?
Yeah, that was my suggestion. So originally we had, thus when traders are chosen to go throughout the markets or to sail with the fleet, one ought to choose only those who are very well known and in good repute with the maidens. But that leaves out the word ALDULKERA, as you pronounce it.
Simply means such. Want ALDULKERA gers skolde you jaros te quick dea for such grass, mit ALDULKERA wijpne, with all such weapons.
All such, ALDULKERA. Okay, now I get it.
Works like these.
Only such men who are so it shouldn't say only experienced men. It should only such men would be the correct translation.
Such would probably be better than those. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can move on to his rooster crows. Yeah. That one.
Chapter 4d. Next
is
chapter.
Fun.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Findas. It talks about so it's section 4d about laws, where it basically says that the Fryas are the only people chosen to have laws by Varalda, because the other peoples either just are unable to, constitutionally unable to make and uphold laws, or they like to make laws, but they don't actually like to uphold the laws. And talking about the Findas, he says they make lots of good laws, and everyone likes them, or everybody is proud of them, but they don't want to be bound by them themselves. And then in the Fryas it says
Dames hone krijat koning. Dames hone
krijat, koning, yeah. So the one whose mind is most cunning and thus strongest, dames hone krijat koning. So his rooster cries king. Or crow.
Yeah, we had he rules.
Yeah, we had translated that as he
Yeah,
rules.
and we had a footnote saying that it literally says his rooster crows king, but the idea now is to keep more the original metaphors.
And put the footnote with the other, like what it means.
So we can really learn how these people, what their...
what metaphors they use. Yeah, and the rooster is one that happens a lot, right? So
yeah, the red rooster is used for fire, to light the red rooster.
And it's also used for the Celts.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Indeed, yeah. Okay, so that is also settled.
Okay, last one in the section Minerva, which is this is probably my favorite section. I'm completely. I love the name Minerva. It's there's just so much about this this mother who I really honor, and this section, which I think is so full of lessons about how to be in life.
Yeah, I love the dialogue too with Minerva.
And so in section 4f, what the like on the minste, you have the lowest and the meanest. Yeah. So yeah, you had a question about the word meanest. I changed. There was a part where it said if I were to lose my love of freedom, wisdom, justice, and freedom, I would be what we had originally as the lowest of your slaves. And the word in Fryas is MINNISTA. And I changed it to the meanest, and you had a question about that. This might just be
so MINNISTA is not meanest, but just like in Dutch we say the minste, the most inferior.
Right. So this is an English lesson for you. Meanest means lowest.
Okay.
And this is one of those things where you look at the Fryas and you realize Fryas is closer to English than anyone would have ever guessed. So the meanest of your slaves is it simply means the lowest, right? Mean doesn't mean like not friendly. It means lowly. If something is mean, it is lowish.
Okay, so it's not the first meaning. It's
the most original meaning of mean is low.
Well, interesting. When I read that as a Dutchman, I only have the association with gemein of Deutsch.
Right. Well, the way that the way I've always explained this to myself is if somebody's being mean, they're being a jerk, right? But that's not what it means. It means that they're being like a low person. They're not living up to the standards of someone of their upbringing. I'm being mean means I'm acting as if I'm below. I'm acting in a lowly way.
Yeah.
So, meanest is definitely the correct translation here. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And it's much nicer because it is exactly the same word as the Fryas MINNISTA. Yeah. And you'll find that, I think that's one of those words. We've talked about this a few times where, the Lord of the Rings is full of language that is beautiful and has meanings beyond what is used nowadays in English. And I believe you would even find exactly the meanest of your slaves or the meanest of his slaves. I'm talking in one section. I can't remember where it is. But it's this is just a language issue that you didn't know the meaning of meanest yet. Having showing ignoble, there it is. There's the one. Yeah, the one that you've got marked there. Having showing an ignoble lack of honor or morality. So ignoble is the word is the functional word there. So ignoble means less.
Yeah, which is more fitting than inferior. So I'll change that after we finish the chat.
Who had inferior
No,
sunspot?
I made it today because I had lowest, and then I
Okay.
thought, well, maybe inferior
To
is better.
to explain your point. Yeah, yeah. No, meanest. It's a beautiful solution, if I may say so myself. So
Then there were two more little notes. This
okay.
sentence, I'm sure it's good. I just wondered because I don't think I've ever seen a sentence this short with so many commas
in it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. I wasn't. Let's see. For now, so now is parenthetical, right? So for I give my advice freely, but then she adds a time aspect. For now, I give my advice freely, but then mirroring now as a parenthetical time aspect, I would sell it. This is a tough one because in the Fryas, it's quite clearly written, and in English you've got to kind of do the same thing with commas. So we added the word for example, right? In the Fryas, it just starts with nu. If I could find it.
Here I have it. Second sentence of page 34. Nu geef ik reed navet, men dan schold ik voor kaapja dam.
Yeah. So nu and dan is what they have, right?
It didn't have the for.
It doesn't have
but
the for, and it doesn't have. Oh, it does say mandan. Okay. But the Fryas also doesn't. The comma doesn't exist in Fryas.
They use a dot for that sometimes.
Right, or they just don't use anything. There's lots of parenthetical stuff that there's just nothing, right? So this is a matter of modern English that I would have to check into. This is the best solution that I have for now. But so for now, without a comma, it says for now, like for the time being. But that's not what it means. It means for in the archaic sense. And we could leave out the for. When you say now, then you would definitely need a comma. I give my advice freely. But then, if you don't have a comma, but then is also a way of saying just but. But then I wanted to go. I'd like to do this, but then again, I'd like to do that. But then can mean the same as like, but then again, like on the other hand. But then means like on the other hand. So the comma sets the then apart.
The sentence is good. And there's actually, in this part, there's a very complicated long sentence. I think it's with the leeches, which is also the last note I had, because you had marked it.
I marked the leeches,
which is a problematic word. I'll get into that.
The original Fryas says vampira.
Vampira.
Well, my problem with leeches is twofold. One, I kind of like to. I don't want to hide the word vampire, and two. There's the leetza in being the leech, meaning the healer, right? So a leech is also a healer. The word leetza is used for that, and that the English word there would be leech. And so it's. I just wonder if we should maybe put vampire there. It seems like an anachronism.
Yeah. And
I agree.
It doesn't have to be the original meaning of this word.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I mean.
And that was what the blog post was about. Here. It's vam could be related to vomp. Vam is a belly. Vamp, vomp, vomp, vam.
Interesting.
Vamba. And then pier is a word we still have for worm. typical sort of worm. Usually it's
a belly worm.
A belly worm.
Interesting.
So bloodsucker. The Dutch word for leech is bloodsucker. Bloedzuiger.
Right.
Bloedeagle in German. Huh? Another possibility is that the vam or vam is means evil. The word is purely Frisian. That's what Ottoma had in his historical notes. He had the word is purely Frisian is composed of vam. This was in his explanation. And pier, that is worm. Literal meaning is thus an evil or dangerous worm. The Dutch language has the expression I don't want to be the kwade pier, the evil worm. This was what Ottoma thought, and I said I rather think vam means belly. So vampire is a belly worm or a thick worm, as opposed to the regular slim worms we know from the rain worms. And this could be a word that is for a bloodsucker, a leech.
Okay. Well, the notion that the word that the modern word vampire, right, is literally a pure Frisian word is quite interesting.
Like so many. Well, Frisian I would say Fryas.
Fryas, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, this is something that is going to take a little bit more effort, I think. But I wanted to point it out also that the meaning of leech, it means, I mean, yeah, it's obvious from the context what's meant here, but when I see vampira, so vamp, yeah, of course, it means belly, yeah, vampa. So very interesting take on it, Jan. That's great.
So yeah, until we have something better,
we'll just leave leech.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a footnote. No. I could add a footnote that it's uncertain. But
yeah, I mean, anybody who buys the book or goes to the wiki is going to see that it says vampira, right? But yeah, make a link to the blog post.
I wonder what Sandbach had. He translated Ottoma. Oh, not Ottoma. Blood.
Leeches.
He also had leeches. Yeah, okay, well. Then through different ways we came to the same conclusion there. And for people who are interested, because I've always done this in my free time, and the next few weeks or even months I want to do a lot of things on the house and the garden and with the family. So I may sometimes do something. It's like a bit of a meditation to me. Also, I will continue with you to improve the language, and with Pax to improve this. And I also recently I made some videos of the presentation in Yaure. No, in Snake. These ones. I may edit a few more. But I basically focused on the things I hadn't really said before in earlier interviews or presentations. So that also takes a lot of work, usually, with the subtitles and all. Then for people who are enthusiastic, they can always go to the forum. And today I saw there were some very interesting new posts. But I haven't had time to reply to that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Jan. You're not supposed to work on Friday, but I've been working ever since I fell out of bed this morning, and I am ready to fall back into bed at this point.
Well, have a good rest, and talk to you next time.
All right, bye-bye.